Oh, jeez. I loaded my bags and provisions in this sled pulled by several sturdy, healthy beasts and left the Romansburg monastery, heading northwards in search of the mysterious people inhabiting the vast, desolate wastes of the Siberian tundra. My superiors had conferred on me the mission of evangelizing these pagan tribes from their heathen, shamanic beliefs. I traveled under assumed identity, that of a lowly trapper. I had to be wary of the agents of the state and of the military, for whom any religious activity is suspect. They, for their part, traveled the length and breadth of the earth of eastern Syberia, trying to convince the villagers of the debatable benefits of collectivism. Yeah. It took me several weeks to accustom myself to the unfamiliar harness. I found no dogs in Romansburg and had to make do with yokis purchased from a hunter. What's a yoki? A yoki. Oh, it's telling me right here. This actually tells me what a yoki is. A yoki is related to both seals and dogs. In the wild, the yoki lives in riverbanks. It is an easy capture for the trapper, as its gluttony is well documented. In winter, it gorges itself on orange salmon, a prey that it often has to share in the wild with a fierce Siberian bear, another creature very partial to the fish. Once tamed, the yoki is an affectionate but whimsical animal. It resists all forms of disciplined training, and only if there are no dogs available is it used to pull sleds. Certain Arctic peoples, however, seem to have a better mastered the secret of their domestication, and the yoki is central to their daily activities. Okay. All of the peoples who inhabit these godforsaken regions, I find the yokis the most fascinating. Yokels, the most fascinating. Perhaps that is why I headed for their region, where I was most likely to encounter them. The journey was long and dangerous. It wasn't until October 27th, 1947, that for the first time I made contact with the yokels. I have spent long months living among them. I have come to know them and to understand them for who they are. I soon abandoned any notion of converting them. I applied myself instead to study their mores and customs. They converted me. Hey, that looks like it kind of like a mammoth. So little is known about the yokels, less than is known about any inhabitant of the frozen north. Today they live far, far away from the farthermost tip of the Siberian tundra. Because of their remoteness and their inhospitable climate, the yokels have remained small in number, overlooked by the scientific community and the Soviet governmental machine. The only documents available before my departure were several drawings, notes, and photographs taken 100 years ago by a Russian explorer, Marie Bodrinoff. It is to her we owe what little is of the yokel people and its culture. You've called them dirt bears? They kind of look like dirt bears. The yokels hark back to the last ice age, curiously tracing their presence, have been found in Western Europe, more precisely in the heart of the French Alps. In the prehistoric caves in Valladolid, this suggests that over centuries they undertook a long migration toward the extreme north of the globe. The second harfang. This bird is often inseparable from the yokel shaman. It seems to be considered in turns as his friend, representative, and even as his incarnation. Okay. There's a yokel shaman. He's definitely a better drawer than me. I'm not gonna lie. Lemmings congregate on the open plains of Siberia. They feed on grains and small fruit that they store in their holes in face of the scarcity of the winter months ahead. Lemmings dig deep tunnels in the ice to escape their predators. The hunters they most fear are harfangs, who seem to find lemmings something of a delicacy. On several occasions during my journey, I encountered traces of Ucal society far to the west of the areas we know today. Along forest trails, I discovered small piles of carefully piled stones, altars on which Ucal hunters made ritual offerings to one of their pagan gods. We now know the reason for the Ucal's long migration. Their domestic economy was, it seems, directly linked to the mammoths. They used the mammoth for both transport and as a beast of burden for meat, skin, fat, and ivory. It is beyond doubt that they were dealing with a genuine case of symbiosis between man and animal. Mammoths were forced north by changing climatic conditions, and the Ucals followed. Yeah, like, look at my mammoth. If I can find it again. Look, my mammoth is so good. Look at that. My mammoth is so good. Like, you can barely tell the difference between mine and that one. Like, you can barely tell the difference. It's like it's the same drawing. Anyway, some prehistoric cave drawings. Put that on Etsy. I should put it on a t-shirt. I'll put it on a t-shirt. Some prehistoric cave drawings identified as being as Ucal origin have led the scientific community to conjecture that at one time the Ucals realized the incredible achievement of domesticating mammoths. They are, to our knowledge, the only prehistoric people to have represented a man astride a mammoth. Oh, this is a long page. Ucal life has thus ultimately linked to that of their pachyderms. They use their hides for clothing and to build roofs, walls, and houses. They use their tusks to construct the frameworks of their dwellings and for weapon tools and jewelry. Curiously, the disappearance of the mammoth 12,000 years ago had no immediate impact on the Ucal's way of life. It seems that they were able to retain the strong link that tied them to mammoths throughout millennia. As incredible as it might seem, Ucals still feed on mammoth meat today and use mammoth hide for clothing and to roof their dwellings. Their craftsmanship of mammoth ivory is altogether remarkable. It appears that the Ucals have managed to retain their ancestral habits by using over the years the many frozen mammoth bodies that are perfectly preserved in the frozen Siberian wastes. They are said to have lived off this enormous pantry for more than 30 centuries. To do this, they have hollowed out a vast network of caves in the frozen ground. According to the intrepid explorer Marie Bojanoff, Ucal civilization has now gone underground. Specialists, that would be where Syberia is. The Syberia of a legend. Specialists in the paleontology department at St. Petersburg have never credited Ucal myths and legends. However, the legend of the Siberian ice arc is typical of such folklore. It has long been considered a fable told by shaman in the evening to ward off the boredom of the long Siberian winter months. The legend tells that somewhere in the lost island to the north of the tundra there still exist live mammoths, relics of the long-gone ice age, a tiny population that has been preserved for more than 12 centuries. Under Ucal care, the island of the pachyderms inhabit is called Syberia. Syberia with a Y instead of an I. To my notes, I add the tale of this legend as Marie Bojanoff related it to her memoirs. It agrees on all points with the statements from Ucals I had the fortune to meet. Although this story constitutes no proof of the existence of the island of Syberia, it forms a tantalizing hypothesis. Scarlet bramble, bluegrass. When fall arrives, the odor of this flowers is so strong that it is known to awaken hibernating Yuki. Scarlet bramble. Mixed with walrus blubber or tallow, this scarlet bramble is frequently used in yokel medicine. If fumes released by burning it have considered healing properties. The shamans recount the plant only grows in the tomb of one whose soul is at peace. At the end of the last ice age, there were huge climatic changes. Much of the land was flooded by water. The sudden environmental variation put the existence of the number of animal species in danger, including the mammoths that inhabit the lands of the Siberian North. At the time, the Yukels, a particularly advanced people for the age, set about the construction of an enormous ark like that of Noah, with the objective of preserving the mammoths, objects of religious devotion, from extinction. The enormous craft was entirely constructed of mammoth tusk and was loaded with a small herd of beasts and huge quantity of fur. The fate of the ship was entrusted to several particularly courageous members of the Yukel clan. Their mission was to lead the animals toward more welcoming climes. Once such lands were discovered, it was agreed that they would unload the animals and then come back to spread the tidings of their good fortune. It wasn't until 10 years later that the ark returned to its starting place. The Yukels who had remained on the continent were surprised to find that the ship was empty, but for the perfectly preserved bodies of several mammoths in the ice that packed the bottom of the ship. They took this mysterious offering as a sign from the gods and ate the mammoths as a memorable feast. A week later, carried along by ocean currents, the ark set sail again. Once more, it returned 10 years later with more frozen mammoths on board. The phenomenon continued for millennia. Every 10 years, the ark would reappear, each time filled with immaculately preserved mammoths. The Yukels interpreted this phenomenon as an act of benevolence on the part of the souls of their... What is that word? Congeners who had died during the ark's first journey in some infernal maritime cataclysm. They made a religion of the ark with its own rites and customs that was marked by the periodic appearance of the phantom ship and its precious cargo. For centuries, nothing seemed to affect the ark's mysterious roundabout. One day, however, the ark returned earlier than expected and empty. This was 100 years ago. The poor Yukels fell into deep despair. Everything they had believed in had been the foundation of their culture since the dawn of time lost meaning. The most valiant tried hard to maintain hope, especially because the ark still continued its This is hard to read because the R's and the N's look very similar. Peregrinations into the unknown, borne away on the seasonal ocean tides, but one morning the ark refused to set sail. Many Yukels then left their village forever, trailing their despair across the tundra. Sometimes they can be encountered in the smoke-filled drinking holes of the last outposts of civilization. These poor sodden souls drown their... I was about to say drawer. Drown their befuddled minds in alcohol, recounting their unlikely mammoth tales to fellow alcoholics. When the explorer Bodranov arrived among the Yukels, she noted the presence of what was once a ship. Only the Yukels could perceive the mythological craft of their legends beneath the layers of ice that had accumulated over centuries. She put forward the hypothesis that the accumulated ice had actually doubled the volume of the ark and rendered it incapable of negotiating the dangers posed by the floating ice in the Arctic flow. I can confirm that the observations of this audacious venture are true. The ark that leads to the Isle of Syberia is indeed real, and even if I have not found the formal proof, I am convinced that this isle's existence and that remnants of the mammoth population may still live there today. Okay, well, we got a book.